Good evening, students, and welcome to Season 3 of the Scrim School ScrimCast. I am your host, Bobby Socks. If you are new here, the way this works is we spend the first hour or so chatting with the teachers of the week.
I'm dead!
Then the second half of it, we run scrims with the teachers, pulling in viewers from chat. You guys get a chance to play with these goats, learn from them, ask your own questions. It is an open forum. Feel free to ask any question you have, type it. I will try and catch it. If I miss it, mods, I'm trusting you. Our guest this week, I'm super excited about. I've been trying to get him on for a long time, and our schedules just didn't line up. So, our guests are E1iteDeath and MrFantuv. Let's get them undeafened and get to know the teachers.
Did
Gentlemen,
you read the blog though? Let's go.
Let's go. Let's start this off. Why don't you two introduce yourselves? Say who you are, what makes you tick, things you enjoy, and it gives people a chance to learn about you a little bit before we get into the nitty-gritty.
I think I'll let my elite go first.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my name is E1iteDeath. I started streaming on Twitch and on Destiny 2 when COVID became really bad in 2020. I have been enjoying this time streaming on Twitch and playing this game. I've watched it grow, watched it fall. What makes me tick is just how much this game has changed, whether good or bad. And yeah, can't wait to get this started. Can't wait to talk to y'all and interact with y'all.
Yeah, this will be a good time. All right, MrFantuv, kick it off.
I would say I'm not much of a streamer, pretty on and off. Been trying recently to grow the stream, been trying to get a schedule, been trying to make a little bit of a community and make a positive community, one with that can handle jokes. But I would say for the most part I got into Destiny because of Destiny, or Destiny 2 because of Destiny 1. It's just a game I transferred over to and I stuck with. I mainly only do PvP. You'll never see me doing PvE. That's just my grind. I just like to get better and read up the kill count. And also, I've known Elite for a long time as well, so that's dope.
I like it. Cool. So let's get it started with a fun one. Trials this weekend, because I have Elite stream up and it's showing Trials. How'd you feel about it? What'd you like? What didn't you like? And obviously the loot.
I mean, it's always going to be, on the first week of Trials, everyone's going to go in there and play. What Bungie did right for once is they actually gave us a good map and good loot.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we've had like a SMG meta for a while now, so it was just a kind of a, it was kind of crazy, the Immortal 750. So I was like, when I saw the map and weapon, I was like, oh, here we go, this is gonna be fun. And then I was like, man, this is getting ridiculous at this point because it was just Immortal everywhere. It was all over the place.
Yes.
It got like what 11 million kills, so.
Yeah, the closest one was like 4 million, I think, or 6 million, and that was like
Kellos. That was like Kellos. So I don't know. We have some work to do in terms of that, but overall, it was a fairly good weekend in my opinion. On the other hand, I got tilted. I was not really having much fun, just barely because of just how the fact how it was everywhere, and just again how abilities kind of come into play there. But overall, it was all right.
Fantuv, how you feel about it?
I didn't really get much chance to play. I only got a card on Friday, so I didn't actually get to, run in to the Immortal spam. Nobody really the SMG. I went flawless for cards, so for the most part, I think the week went well, but based off the fact that so many people have the Immortals, so many people have Ikelos, and we are in an SMG meta, I can see the Crucible getting a little bit annoying, especially in Iron Banner. I've definitely seen the impact of so many people having such a good rolled SMG, readily available, and one that you can buy the normal version of from Same 14.
Which is still really, really good. And I think people don't really notice that. They think that it has to be adept or bust, right? Yeah. But I have a couple of friends that were playing and they didn't get the adept roll that they wanted. But they got the non-adept roll that was the god roll for them. And the difference is like 1.5 meters range, 2 meters, I think.
I think rangefinder is just like, it's becoming overrated. Like, I don't think on this SMG you needed rangefinder. I think for me it was kind of throwing me off a little bit having rangefinder on it, but
Yeah.
I don't
agree.
know.
Prior to trials, I went through D2 Gunsmith. I ended up looking through roles, and on paper, without rangefinder, 25 meters of range for damage fall off, and like it just, I don't think you need rangefinder. Even if you have a mid roll,
Yeah.
like SMG, as long as you're hitting like 70, 75, you'll be fine. 'Cause then that's sitting around eye close, and that's one of the best 750s in the game.
Yep.
Uh,
I have one with mine came with recall rounds, keep away, and target lock, and it slaps. I can get it to like 82 range. It's
You see,
dumb.
yeah, no, I had a keep away, but I didn't really think it was that good of a perk. But I think I just made a mistake in trashing that because I might think that keep away is better than rangefinder, in my opinion. And when it comes to target lock, I mean, I don't know, I don't know. I think target lock is more of a controller-based like perk, just because of how like you have to stay on the target. And since controller
absolutely.
has that pretty good tracking, especially on SMGs, I think target lock is more of a controller perk than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, even I could agree with that 100%. But I feel like, and I'm speaking just from listening on this one, I feel like target lock on MNK is still relevant just because of the added damage buff as long as you're on target. I mean, the TTK on it is the most wild thing I think I've ever seen.
Agreed.
Like, it's hitting kill clip rate of TTK without having to reload. That's wild to me, you know? Overall, I had a great time. I played so much trials this weekend, and I had a blast
I'm
trying
jealous.
to go for it. Dude, it was... I ended up just jumping in. I ran and I tested solos, duos, and trios. And that's definitely something that I wanted to ask. Obviously, Phantom, you don't have a ton of...
I did get a chance in trio, and I did get a chance to duo in the falls pool.
Okay. Okay, cool. So that's a big one that I want to touch on because, I mean, we keep getting all these different matchmaking changes, right? It feels like we have a matchmaking change every single season. What do we think of Fireteam based?
It's interesting. You know, I was playing solo to begin with, and I was like, man, this is what I liked about it was how like hard the game was trying to find more solos for you.
Mm-hmm.
Every other game I would get like a duo and all that, but I never once got like a triple, which was good. So I feel like they're heading in the right direction in terms of getting like, you know, the fire team based matchmaking. The only thing that I didn't like is I still feel like the lobby balancing is a little bit too strong because I was getting like games where I would get teammates that I don't even think they know what they're doing, and then I would, you know, it would just seem unenjoyable because it feels like you're just doing a double carry, even though you're not doing a carry. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do. I completely understand what you're saying. Did you get a chance to play duos or trios at
Yeah,
all?
duos was definitely the way to go. Like if you were gonna like attempt to carry, it was definitely duos. I think trios. I did trios, and it was basically like that's where like the sweats were, in my opinion, were the
Mm-hmm.
trios. But if you're gonna do like a carry, I think a duo was the way to go.
I definitely agree. Phantom, what you got?
I would say duo, both in falls pool. When even non-fall, or I guess prior to falls pool, when I was 3 stacking that first card, I think carries are doable, but for the most part, those 3 stacks are going for it. They're gonna be playing together, and the person you're helping, it just isn't good enough to stick with you. It could be really difficult. But from also looking on paper and from what Elite said, because I didn't get enough experience, it seems that their stats line up from the blog posts on roughly fire team based matchmaking, matching you with the same size fire team, with like the
Mm-hmm.
exception of being solo, where sometimes it has to fill you in because that's
You,
just how it works.
you know what
But
though? I ran. My goal was to run a lot of testing, right? I wanted to see how
mhm.
it would play out. And I heavily tested solo and I heavily tested duo. And solo, I found that if I did get duos in the lobby, it was 2 duo teams and then 2 solos. So it wasn't like it was stacked against you with, 3 solos on your team and then a duo and a solo on the other
And
team.
that's kind of the same way Iron Banner works. If when you match, you go in as a 5 stack, you're gonna match another 5 stack, and you're gonna match 2 solo.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily gonna. But also, I don't believe Trials has SPM. It's just card based for the most part,
It is.
or
It's card
win
based and
based.
it's lobby balancing. They talked about that in the PvP blog.
which
today,
I'm guessing is more true skill matchmaking.
Yes, which we're definitely going to get into that. That's going to be a big one. Elite, I don't know if you got a chance to read the PvP blog at all from today.
I've been like skimming through it as we're talking.
Good, because there was a ton of info in there that I definitely want to touch base on. But while you're still skimming through it, let's stick on the Trials convo for just a little bit longer. Let's talk counters, because this is a school. This is a school on how to get better at PvP. What were you finding that worked well to counter against this SMG meta? And what stood out to things that you just could not put a beat on beating?
Well, maybe what I should have done this weekend is played more range on the SMGs. I mean, everyone's using them, so they're gonna want to try to get close to you. I believe if like you were like a sniper or more of a hand cannon main, I think you're gonna have like a better time doing this meta because everyone's just gonna try to get close. Like that's just the thing about it. This weekend I didn't really do well on that. I probably should have played more range on people, but I thought I was gonna get inside the action and just use an SMG. But I mean, I played okay. But sometimes there were games where I would just get out TTK'd and I just didn't know what to do. So
Oh yeah, I feel that.
I mean, I probably would have like enjoyed playing range on these guys. I don't know, but definitely, you know, when you're fighting like a lot of SMGs, like play range.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely, it's definitely a good suggestion, especially with the TTK on these things lately. Fantuv, what have you found to counter this SMG meta that we're in?
It's
right now?
honestly kind of the same. Like Elite 7K, I'm controller, but I also play aggressive, but as a sniper, and he plays aggressive as a shotgunner. It kind of is that same thing where you really do have to play your range, play patient, and play your team shots. Because if you like, I learned real quickly trying to go in for the ego peaks on the SMG players just wasn't it. Trying to do any hero moment, trying to go for a flank, trying to do anything that you would do as a sniper just would not work with Jab 4 mixed in with just so many SMGs well within their, you know, optimal TTK. It's just very easy to get out team shots. So definitely play your distance and stick with your team. Like you gotta stick with your team, especially if you're not running an SMG yourself.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Overall, though, I did think it was a really good weekend.
Best weekend in a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely had plenty of players for sure.
My concern is one, how this is gonna play, how fire team based matchmaking is gonna play when we're at the end of the season, right?
And that's a very good point. Like, we all know, you know, I mean, it's Destiny. You know, Destiny does hit a little bit of a lull towards the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you're just right on that because I just don't know, like, if the population is going to affect that. It might, like, affect matchmaking times or something. I don't know. Or it just might go to the point where it's just all sweats and carries back out. Or... I mean, I just don't know. It's a very good observation. Like, I don't really know until we're going to get there, but that is something to think about. That's a good point. Like, I didn't think about that.
What's your hopes on it?
I'm hoping that Bungie just, like, takes, like, notes, like, on first weeks of trials. Like, even last season, we did not get a good, not last season, but last DLC, the Witch Queen, when they had their first weekend of trials, it was not as good as this weekend. This was the best weekend of trials since they introduced that new trials rubric and all that.
Yep.
And this was with the flawless pool as well, so it was like, you know, it was like an eye opener
People
for
are
me.
willing to play flawless pool for once.
And that's the thing. It's because, you know, Bungie. The thing that Bungie needs to do and needs people to understand, they need to make it to where you want to go flawless. They want to make it to where, you know, going flawless has like a rewarding feeling. See, like, because sometimes in these trials weeks, like, there's just no incentive to go flawless. There's no point. The only reason you're gonna go flawless is, you know, you're done with your carries basically, because that's all you see towards, like, you know, end season. It's just, you know, streamers doing carries, and then they'll do their flawlesses on Monday or Sunday. You know, they just, you know. But I hope with this week, or not this week, this DLC and these seasons, is Bungie, you know, continues to take these notes on how they can make people want to play trials based on loot and or map. Because, I mean, Javelin's a great map. Javelin's like everyone's favorite map. And, you know, you have a brand new SMG. We're in the middle of a 750 SMG meta. I mean, it was a really good start for Bungie. But another thing on how Bungie needs to do this is, you know, they still need to do some tuning on this. I mean, abilities and with the high TTKs of SMGs was, I mean, I don't know, it kind of mixed up my feelings. But overall, you know, you just, in terms of like performance of like, you know, trials, populations, and encouraging people to play, it was really good.
I agree. And there was, so I don't know if y'all noticed this or not, but there was one little minute thing that Bungie did that not a lot of people caught until the end of it. You could still farm for the SMG with a flawed card if you had been flawless.
That I don't agree with.
I liked it. I'm going to be honest. I went flawless 3 times, I think, and then I just spent on a ferocity card. I spent the other
I believe
next
that's
day.
been a thing for a while. Once you're in flawless pool, like as long as you gain your
It's been a thing, but they kind of like it worked really well on
It's,
the
I mean, it's already
teams.
been a thing, but like the whole
But
point.
also, nobody ever went into flawless pool before.
Right, that's true. Flawless Pool before was just the most horrendous place ever.
Like the base point, like the touch base, the base point of Trials of Osiris should be to go flawless.
Mm-hmm.
When you have like these ways to where you don't need to achieve the main goal of the game mode, it's just kind of degrading to the overall health of the game mode.
I agree.
And trials isn't for everyone. So like vice versa, you also need to make those that aren't, you know, carry streamers or looking for carries have like loot worthwhile. Their time is worth. You know, they may not have gone flawless, but you know, it was worth their time. It wasn't an absolute waste of effort. At the same time, making them feel rewarded, even if they couldn't get the best loot, the best armor, the adept rolls. Like it's still ensuring that those people, you know, like their time is well spent, that their time is rewarded for the effort. And the goal, you know, is obviously to keep getting closer and closer and better and better. And you know, eventually you make it to the lighthouse. But
Absolutely.
but I think they've done it over the past couple of years. They've done a better job at ensuring, you know, those that couldn't get flawless, either by making flawless easier or just giving other options for loot. Because I will say, like,
Okay, see, I'm gonna
Season
agree with
10
that.
was-
It is not necessarily like making it easier to go flawless, but definitely giving more options for loot. That's
Yep.
something I'm gonna agree with you on that, Fantov. Like, I don't think going flawless should be easier, but I do think if you're struggling, you still have a chance to obtain the
and I
loot
mean that
like
is
it
why
was
flawless pool was created.
when we had the 357 flawless thing. I kind of like that just because. But again, then I kind of was like, oh, then you don't need to go flawless for what you want. But again, that's what I think about it. I mean, flawless pool is just a joke. I'm sorry. I will never ever agree with anybody that wants to tell me that flawless pool is good. I
I
just can't agree
believe
with
we're
you.
having labs of non-fall or flawless pool being
What-
removed sometime
Speaking of which, that is
this
a
season.
perfect roll into our PvP blog.
Yeah.
I like that little transition. So, those of you in chat that are, if you're not aware, we had a Bungie PvP blog today. It was a ton of info. Like, I think I spent a good half hour, 45 minutes reading through it. But one of the big ones that I want to touch base on, and I'm definitely going to get the teachers' opinions on this one, is Season 21. They said they are testing a different style of matchmaking that removes the flawless pool completely. And I want to get my wording right on this because, like I said, it was a lot of info. So let me grab it real quick. That's checkmate. Where are we at? Here we are. Okay. So there is the practice pool, which is a pool targeted to new or less experienced players who are not yet ready to get going flawless a shot, and represents a place for them to dip their toes into trials without being thrown into the deep end. This pool has stomp protection and farming protection. And that's an interesting thing to me. No, so it's not SBMM. That's the cool part. It is purely win-based.
different pool. Yeah.
It's win-based. Then that's a very specific thing there. Because previously we had card-based, where you match people on your card. This is a win-based system where even if you reset your card, if you have 100 wins, it's still going to keep you out of that pool. You're not going to go back and be able to farm on 1-win, 2-win resets. How do y'all feel about that?
So is the pool, from my understanding, activated based on true skill? From what I'm reading, is based on your performance for the week, kind of determines what sort of pool you're throwing into.
No,
Is that my
no.
understanding or not?
So there's the two pools. There's the challenger pool, and there is the practice pool. Basically, the practice pool is for the kindergartens that keep losing, the guys that are 1 in 100, right? But the challenger pool, it says, and I quote, "This is where most players who currently play Trials on a week-to-week basis and who want to go flawless will play. It represents an experience more like the original iteration of Trials in Deep 1, without the focus on making games more difficult as the card progresses or after you have been flawless. This pool matches based solely on connection."
That's interesting.
There is
There's
no matchmaking.
based.
So not even.
That's
Not even
but why wouldn't
progression
you
of
want to do
harder
matchmaking
games.
based? That's how the games should get harder. Is because the higher up the pyramid you go.
Mm-hmm. Like a tournament bracket.
That's my question.
It makes
Is that
sense.
like a tweak to make flawless slightly more obtainable to more skill levels?
I think so. I think it's going to become.
I
think it's become more a crapshoot on.
Because they also
if you get
added
lucky.
an extra loss in the mercy.
I think
right,
lucky.
as well?
I think luck is going to play a big part in this.
Yeah, luck is
I
going
don't
to be
really
huge.
like this,
Mercy
to be
lets
honest.
you lose 2 games now.
Only on
Yes.
your first card. Only on your first card.
Oh.
Those are big things. Those are huge changes.
And it
It says. Oh wait, it says no. If you have not been flawless this week, your first card. If you have not been flawless, I think. I don't know.
Yes,
But at
that's
the end of
exactly
the
what
day,
it said.
these changes are
Okay.
great, but I guess the enjoyment is always going to be
So
determined
once you
by
go
the
flawless,
meta
it
at
reverts
the
back to a
time.
single. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Solely connection, to me anyway, is a huge win. I play at 4
I think that's
o'clock
a
in the
great
morning.
idea.
Like, my connections are
See,
so
that's the
scuffed.
thing. So like,
And I as well. I play for demon hours most of the time, and
Yeah.
I personally, I don't do carries, so it's not usually an issue for me. But I think for the other people, it would just be a great idea, giving
the
accessibility to
connections
flawless.
without dedicated servers, how's this gonna work?
It's
Like, who's it gonna base the connection on?
My guess is from one of the
Proximity.
previous. Yeah, one of the previous is either going to be proximity or strongest connection in the lobby.
it's usually like a mix between region and then the person like who's closest to all the people in the lobby plus connection. So it will
Granted,
kind of choose a
you
connection.
may have
code.
outliers, obviously.
Yeah.
If you're queuing up, like I queue up with Aussies a lot, right? So I'm sure I'll end up in Aussie lobbies sometimes, and they'll end up in US lobbies. But if you're still queuing with, like, say, if all West Coasters are queuing with all West Coasters, then connections should be good.
So I have a question about practice pool. So it says only players with a flawed code or those on their first game of the week can play in the pool. So everyone's gonna start out in the practice pool.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
So everyone's gonna start out in a easy pool to go flawless.
And because
I
of
don't-
mercy on first card and the adding, I guess
I don't think it's
that
I don't
change to
think it's all the
mercy
way to
might
flawless
also
though.
no.
My guess is because they said
See,
wins
exactly.
and
It's
losses.
like
You
when
need
do
a
you
flawed
get taken out
card.
of practice? No, but it says first game of the week. So would you like if you kept winning games, it would put you in the challenger pool after like how many games or how well would you have to do before it switches you? Like would you know? Or you just suddenly, fight, bad players like your first two and then all of a sudden it's like sweats the next two. I don't understand how that's going to work.
Granted, I guess Bungie, it does need to be put into practice before it can be.
If you're
tweaked,
consistently struggling,
I agree. I think this is going to be one of those wait and sees, but it
Yeah,
sounds like
'Cause this is hard
See,
to test
it looks
without, like,
it
the
looks good on
player base
paper,
itself
but
playing.
I don't know how it's going to work.
It's definitely going to be tweaked throughout. Like it's one of those
for
things
sure.
that is brand new, and there's only so much they can do as devs. They need a larger player pool.
So this is strictly going to be win based, like
Yeah.
strictly win based.
Mhm.
See, no, they did this a while back on gosh,
Widow's Court weekend.
yeah, and that was Widow's Court, and that was so bad because it didn't take account into your losses, and so no matter how many wins you had, like say you reached like a certain threshold of wins, you were fighting sweats even though you weren't playing good.
so.
I
they
remember this
specified
going
in there. Oh god, I remember
horrible.
that
See, I
I
weekend.
remember
remember this
matching
going
Goldie,
badly.
Jake, Zor,
Yeah.
like over and over and
Widow's
over.
weekend was rough. It was basically just a tourney, but it was
Yeah.
fun. But the wording in here, and from being around Bungie for this long, they didn't say win based. They said connection based specifically, which is very fascinating.
But
to
when
me
I
because
also
usually they'll
looked
say
at the practice pool, it obviously says, I guess it also asks, like, as well as your performance for the week.
Well, how are
These
you going
also
to
be
separate the
determined.
pools if you don't have like based on like wins or skill or whatever? I don't understand this. Like I'm getting in a
My,
little bit
my
of
guess is
a
it's
spiral
taking
here
in
because
true skill into account plus
but they're
just
not basing it on
hard.
skill. It says they're not basing it on wins, on a ticket, skill, weekly wins,
yeah,
tickets.
it's an
It's
interesting one.
connection. So it's like, so how are you going to separate these pools if you're
Well,
not
the
going to
practice
base it
pool
on?
says this pool matches based on connection and weekly performance, how well you've done in trials.
So yeah, it's
Reset
basing
every
on your
week.
wins and skills. So
So it's true skill matchmaking and wins to determine which pool you're in is I guess my understanding.
I think the big part of it is it's basically stopping people from
yeah
farming
being
farm.
able to sort of switch like a Smurf in a sense, or you farm stats.
Yeah, exactly. Because people,
It removes those people that really shouldn't be there,
mm-hmm.
from being there.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it works. If this mixed with Fireteam based matchmaking, I honestly think it could be a really, really good thing for trials. Because it's completely gets rid of the flawless pool, stops people from win resetting.
Definitely do more lab. They should like make these
And
pools
it opens
like labs.
more players and more skills to have a chance at flawless as well.
Well, it says that it's going to be a lab. They didn't say they were just going to throw it in and call it good.
And
flawless pool
here's
is a
something that
lab
people
for
need to
1
understand.
week as well.
Right.
It's a soft pool, so like there still could be times where you're gonna fight. Like if a bad player, there's still gonna be times where they could fight a sweat team because it's a soft pool. So this is not going to be a
always
perfect
based
system.
on RNG in a sense. Like obviously, as you progress through the card, the games are in theory supposed to get harder.
Well, they should be. That's just how it should work.
Yeah. And
Momax says that Elite's going to go back to the practice pool depending on how many keyboards he breaks.
We'll see about that. Most likely.
It'll be keyboard based matchmaking.
But they also seem to kind of be embracing the carry thing as well, because they seem to even also mention that in their tweaking of trials as well for those that are seeking carries and doing carries, and also trying to avoid those that are given incentive to not reset your card as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like it.
See,
honestly.
and see, that's the thing I said earlier is that they want people to go flawless. They want you to go flawless. They want to bring back the core game mode of trials back, because for the longest time it's always been big streamers do carries all weekend and then they go flawless a few times.
Yep. But now if everybody is in the challenger pool, because it based off of the people's wins themselves,
pushes those to not always seek carry, try to go for themselves as well.
So if you're doing carries and all that, like, so if you get to somebody that's not that good flawless, like, does that up their skill when doing a carry? And so will it put them into harder games because they've gotten carried and they've won games, so now their skill rating goes up?
I would say yes, honestly.
Well, see, that's just
also I think they're trying to incentivize not
doing carries,
not to do carry or seek carry.
Yeah, they're trying to make it so that carry culture, because carry culture in a nutshell, I'll run with friends and I'll help people out and stuff like that, but the idea of carry culture is a pretty, how do I word this right?
One-sided.
It's one-sided, and most of the time it's kind of a negative experience for the person going flawless. Not always, don't get me wrong. There's Sherpas that are fucking phenomenal, right? But
it can be very stressful for,
absolutely.
And it's very stressful for the person doing the carry, and then it's very stressful for the person that is getting carried.
Yeah, absolutely.
It brings a negative experience upon both parties, especially when you struggle or do like a few cards with it. And it's like, I don't know, but we say this how Bungie's trying to strive away from the carry culture and all that, but each of the titles, basically says that you need to carry. So I'm not sure what Bungie wants people to do. I don't know. I think Bungie people to carry, or do you not want people to carry? Like, make up your mind.
Bungie kind of seems to change their mind between making the game hard and other things attainable, making things easier, and I just
trials should always be hard. Trials should always be hard.
Trial and error, tweaking changing. Some of it's right, some of it's incorrect, and it's just not everything's gonna be consistent. It's kind of just destiny, you know. That's
Now
is
for the
what it
not
is.
fun part of this trials part. Did you read the last line of the trials portion? Because the last line talks about them testing a new version of Zone Trials Dominion.
They need to get rid of zone trials. It's not even zone trials. It's a zone taken
they
from
mean?
control, slapped into trials.
What do
It's not like a special zone. It's
agree.
like the
Zone
special.
capture elimination.
Like there's no special zone that they've made up for trials. It's literally a zone taken from a different game mode, slapped into this one that has absolutely no meaning. Otherwise, pop well or bubble, say goodbye to the round, say goodbye to the game. It's over. You know,
And zone trials doesn't always work because there's a lot of maps that aren't symmetrical, and so when zone trials comes around, there's a lot of maps that just are immediately out of rotation.
Yeah, exactly.
well,
Like
in
some times on the map, based on where you spawn and based on where the zone is, one or the other team could have the advantage, and it's over. If they have a bubble or a well, it's over. You just watch the game end, and it's
That's
like
why Jap 4 is not in zone rotation because
it's like what are you supposed to do?
You know,
like what does
the
Bungie
zone-
expect players to do? You see what a warlock or a titan go up there and you have no supers, you're just about to get them, you have 30 seconds till zone pops up, they pop their well and bubble, and you're just watching the game end. You're just
Like, I
watching the
think
game
zone
end.
trials was an incentive to
And
make
that's just
people
frustrating.
move, but like just simultaneously Bungie developed the meta in which people don't move. It's like a band-aid game mode for something
No,
that they created.
here's what I believe they could have done is call it like Trials Labs Flash and just give it a fast round. 30-second round. Boom.
That's always
That would have been better than a zone. I mean, because there's a zone regardless. So if you want to have faster games, just lower the clock. Have it a fast clock.
And I think that's what people were suggesting
And that will
originally.
force them that you'll be forced to play zone or forced to push them instead of just sitting in the back of the map with no time, waiting for zone, charging up supers, and then end game rounds supers. It's just not fun.
I agree.
And it being elimination and also being about, you know, staying alive as well. Like you do need to give an incentive. And I think the easiest one is just reducing the time and the round time to make people push, make the game most fun. Because nobody enjoyed, you know, like season 14 as somebody as a chaos reach first round because they sat there for 90 seconds. Definitely reducing a round timer would have been a better option than developing another version of something that nobody likes.
That's a concern
on maps that don't, and on very limited map options as well.
This is going to be great to roll into as well. Fantuv is on point with the rolling. Part of the blog talked about maps, and that was a big one for me. It was earlier in it. Let me see if I can find it. They said that they were reshaping some of the linear maps. They said they were cutting off and putting barriers on some of the linear maps to make them more symmetrical, I guess. And on top of that, changing the spawn locations to make
Which I thought was a great idea.
Closer. I think that's a phenomenal idea.
Because the last time I remember them like specifically mentioning it was Dag Cliffs in like season 8 when they removed it for a season, and then the spawns were still atrocious. So like I'm glad that they're finally tweaking the spawns.
I remember
this game
playing,
suffers. This game suffers from like
It was like Exodus Blue, and the zone was on the enemy team side. You know, in the tunnel where the heavy is. It was on their side, and I remember spawning in, and it was like it was on their side. So like we couldn't even get there in time.
Between like finding spawn locations, happening to die in the wrong spot, and then spending the entire time spawning with the enemy team. Like that's definitely a good idea to be able to, you know, tweaking that. It doesn't necessarily like pertain to trials, but especially within sixes, spawns.
No, and you could add on that, Fantuv. You could add on to the spawn locations, not just in trials, but like say like eruption. Remember when we were putting eruption on disjunction, and you would get erupted, and they'd spawn on the far side of the map where you just simply couldn't get there in time, and you just die.
And especially with just Rift disjunction as well. Even it didn't matter if it was sixes Rift or, you know, comp Rift. If you just die, it would just throw you on the opposite side of the map, and you're just like, what do you do? Nothing.
You just sit there and watch. And that's something that they addressed, and they saw it, which is surprising.
They made such big maps but also reduce the ability for movement at the same time. It's like it's just well also like putting the spawns in seemingly opposite like places that make any sense. So I'm glad that they're tweaking it.
I agree. I think overall this blog was fucking phenomenal.
I just pray that it's good. I just pray that, they put, word to action. That's what I'm praying for. I mean, because we've had this before where Bungie posts something that looks really, really good, and then it's executed so poorly, and it's like, man.
Or we get an oh, by the way.
Exactly.
That's the worst. That gets me still.
See, what worries me is like they could be executed well, but for me, it's always meta. Always meta that's going to determine any of it in the first place. Like, just whatever the meta is going to be it doesn't matter if it's the best thing ever. If trials, just the meta isn't fun. It doesn't matter.
I guarantee you right now, Bungie knows what the meta is. They know exactly what the meta is.
Oh God, I would
them
say
oh ever so oppressive stompies.
They would be completely blind if they didn't see the trials.
So what comes? So I mean, this is just like a general question, but what comes next after this meta? Are we gonna go back to hand cannons, or is something else is gonna come out?
Because like what I originally saw was like they kind of like in season like 8, they kind of dedicated every season to slightly forcibly tweaking the meta from hand cannons to auto rifles, the 120s, removing 150s, but like through all of like Witch Queen, I like Beyond Light still kind of stuck with that rotation of metas and kept it fun because movement was still a thing. We didn't have AE, the worst thing to ever exist ever. It's just but like Witch Queen, they just really meta and just like it just wasn't developed well. It's like PvP was not developed with fun in mind, in my opinion.
They keep pushing trace rifles. I see.
I have noticed that. I've noticed
rifles
a
and
few
blades.
people. Yep.
And they're giving trace rifles another buff. Is what I'm understanding. They're trying, man. They really want trace rifles to be. They want laser tag to come back.
Oh, no, we don't.
I really hope not, but
like I don't know, but like this meta, like with the SMG meta, was also like it wasn't like it was just not the fault of like buffing or changing the gun itself. It just happened to be making one of the most slept on archetypes. Nobody ever used Icolos prior to this season. Like you saw the one or two people, like maybe Unspoketh or like a Zorbic or somebody, like occasionally, and it just
just because 900s were just
but the thing was like people just it was just one of those things.
But it was still an SMG though. Like that's the thing is like it was creating just a bigger.
And people
problem.
always said even during the 600 meta and like season like 600 SMG meta like 750s are great, but was there an option? Was Shire's or not? But there wasn't really a 750 option, and so then you make one of the best guns, time to kill archetypes readily available, and then just vice versa.
Well, see, that's the problem is that they make these weapons readily available to everyone, and then that's where it becomes.
But like they also got nerfed like SMGs like two or three times at this point, and then they introduced Immortal, another 750, and it's just like this meta just kind of was just not created because they buffed, but they just happened to give a weapon that just wasn't available.
Absolutely. I want to go back to what Elite was saying with the hand cannon meta. If they're going to make a hand cannon meta, I hope so, but I doubt. And the reason being is, if you guys know me, I like to stir the pot on Twitter. Every once in a while, I'll throw out a comment about hand cannons just to test the waters.
180 lover, man.
I'll just comment on hand cannons. In a nutshell, I was like, hey, we need hand cannons, right? My comments are all hand cannons had their time. Hand cannons are still fantastic. Hand cannons are still this. Hand cannons are still that. And people are like, I don't want hand cannons. I don't, and they get mad about it. You know what I mean? They get like mad.
That hand cannon sentiment.
Love them to come back.
I think that hand cannon sentiment just comes from the accuracy, because back in Destiny 1, anybody get optimal TD.
I mean, you can play hand cannons.
Two body, one head, you get optimal TTK, but like with hand cannons, you had to be precise. And I think it just comes down to just not being able to aim. It really is.
Well, the argument is, people would say hand cannons are the easiest weapon to use in the game. They have the fastest TTK, and I call bullshit. I will call bullshit to the day I die. Yes, they have the fastest TTK. Optimal. If you hit all headshots at peak range.
And hand cannons benefited greatly from not existing, because they weren't the optimal range. They weren't the the optimal fastest time to kill, and having that, versatile movement, being able to get in there, being able to outplay your opponent by not, just getting RNG'd because you press like space bar or jump, also contributed to hand cannons being good as well, but also kind of nerfed them with the introduction of AE.
I think people are just too burned on dying to hand cannons.
Yeah.
And that's where they're at now, right? They're so over dying to hand cannons that they think that every hand cannon is the easiest thing to use in the game, and it's not. That being said, I don't think Elite said he would be right back. He is having some PC issues. I don't think that hand cannons need another meta. I think some other things need to be tuned in a little bit.
And the rule of the 150s was a good start to kind of take them out of the absolute meta and allowing other weapons to shine. Maybe not being the top pick, but allow them to have a fighting chance. Getting like mapped by like a spare rations, like at a 150 RPM. It kind of did put pulses out of being able to be a pulse rifle, and so like I think that was a smart idea, but I don't know. It's just interesting. I think hand cannons kind of got shafted, and it really is just AE for me. It
SMGs
really is
are the
that
problem
ability
right now.
that they are.
So Dreadnought, I saw your question about favorite meta. I'm gonna wait until Elite gets back, and then we'll ask that one. In the meantime, Fantuv, I don't know if you saw.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Perfect timing, actually. We'll come back to that question in a minute. So Dreadnought had a question since we're still talking metas. What was your favorite meta in Destiny's history?
In Destiny and Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, or just Destiny 2?
We'll go Destiny 2 because it's relevant. I mean,
I would say it would have to be Season 9 for me. Season of Dawn, there were some outlying issues. It was the season prior to, aggressive frame fusions having like 80-meter kill range with air intel. But otherwise, for the most part, there was a lack of abilities. It was pretty streamlined between hand cannon and shotguns. And, it just felt good. You didn't get RNG'd. It was just a good meta. There were a few options. Just a balance. It was the most balanced I think the game could have been. Like, people always obviously argue Forsaken, but I wasn't around there in Forsaken. So for me, Season 9 was definitely the most enjoyable time for me.
okay.
For sure, and especially because I came into the game in Season 8. Season 9, I was able to still kind of stick with my hand cannon sniper playstyle from Destiny 1, and I felt comfortable within the meta, felt comfortable with the movement. Didn't feel like I just got bullshitted, with the exception of air intel. I think that just Season 9 was a good meta, and it gave some really good weapons as well. Introduced in Season 9, like Paradox came back. There's new Waveframe GL, Mars Retribution also was introduced. So it gave a little bit of variety to Crucible.
I agree. Elite, what you got? What was your favorite meta?
I mean, I got to go with the 120 meta. I think that was just the most.
Really?
Yes, I think that was just the most enjoyable meta.
I agree.
I've
It
ever
was
played.
enjoyable. It's not my favorite.
I mean, what made
Stasis
it
never
fun?
bothered me at the time.
Well, what made it fun was, I mean, how like there was like a lot of one-on-ones to be had. Team shouting was obviously one of the main things that was kind of creating issues, but overall, like, it was really fun to have a one-on-one.
You could create a hero moment.
Mhm.
And you had those abilities to split. You had those abilities to make your own
Exactly.
play.
You had abilities like to play your own game. It wasn't really
Yeah,
more like a.
you didn't. It wasn't
Where
a
like
team-based
you have
game.
to
It was
worry
you
about
do
somebody
you.
using something annoying. It was like where if you got caught in a fight, it was just you and them, and it just came down to like who was the better player, considering the fact that 120s are a little bit more difficult to use with the high recoil and the low stability. So I really think that like if you got caught in a 120 fight with somebody, it was really just came down who was the better
Just who was
player.
the better
And there was a
aimer,
lot
yeah.
of
Yeah.
like a lot of 120 clips that people had, and it was just fun. I mean, it was just enjoyable. People weren't sitting in the back of the map. They weren't just spamming their abilities. They were actually getting up in there, fighting the mid-range fights, and it was just a lot of
And
fun.
that also comes with like the more abilities you add, like it just also simultaneously pushes those that aren't comfortable with their movement, or their situation, where you play even farther back. The more shit you add is just like I don't want to push like somebody now. Like, it's so hard to ego peek as a sniper now with just the like you
It's
just
hard to ego peek
you
against
peek
anything
anything and you
nowadays
get
because everything has
and
such
it's
a high
the more
TTK.
abilities.
Yep.
Like, they add more abilities to create like the idea of moving forward, but it also simultaneously does the exact opposite. Because like the more that you have to worry about, like the less likely you're gonna push because there's just so much information you have to think about.
People want to talk
all at
about how
once.
Hankin has such a high TTK. I mean, everything has high TTK in the game now. Everything.
It really
SMGs,
does.
sidearms.
The creep, the TTK creep has been really, really aggressive over the last few
SMGs
seasons.
shouldn't really have that fast.
And the thing
TTK.
was,
They
like,
just
SMGs was
shouldn't.
one of those things that we're selling because, like, as nobody, like, 750s, they're always there. They never, like, they got, I think, buffed with the 600s, but, like, just nobody
They
ever
got
used them because
buffed
they
and then
weren't.
they got nerfed.
Yeah, and they just weren't used because they got outshined by, 600s, and there just wasn't any good 750s. And, the one that was good just wasn't really farmable. And so, like, this meta just kind of happened from just the fact that they gave a really good weapon, the ability to be farmed, both in last season and now this season with the even better version in the kinetic slot with Immortal. So.
Yep. I agree. I absolutely agree. We are coming up on the hour. Chat, if you have any other questions you want to ask the teachers directly, feel free to type. I will try and catch them. We'll try and get through the last 10 minutes or so as a Q&A. Then we jump into the Scrim portion. And that is the part of Scrim School that most people enjoy the most. It is your chance to play with these goats, get a chance to game with them, ask them questions, sit in a VC and talk and learn. So, we'll leave it open. If you have any questions, feel free to type. In the meantime, I forgot what I was going to ask you both as Elite was coming back because we got into the metas conversation.
You were gonna ask the question prior, but you never said it.
I don't remember what it was now.
I couldn't tell you.
It's going to hit me halfway through scrims. And be like,
Somebody
"Oh!"
asked the question though, right? Or is that
I
your
hit that one.
question?
That was the meta one.
Yeah.
Elite, how much do you spend at Micro Center weekly?
Way too much. If I could pull up my account of like what my Micro Center bill is, it would be a lot of money.
When are you going to get that keyboard sponsorship on breakable keyboards?
I don't know. I mean, when I had that Turtle
I'm
Beach
surprised
sponsorship,
Turtle Beach sponsored.
they came in the chat, Phantom, and they said you can do a durability test, and boy, did I do a
That
durability
shit, bro.
test.
Oh, you definitely did. I saw the end of it.
I told them it was coming. They said do it.
Yeah. All right, let me see. So, I guess we could talk about that. I mean, that's such a dead conversation, but thoughts on MNK versus controller? That's always a conversation.
See, here comes. I just don't care. Like, it's a controller game at the end of the day. It was a console game. I've originally made a console with a PC beta
This
with
controller game.
MNK. Like, grow up, get over it. Who cares? Like, it just is what it is. I don't really think it matters, especially in Destiny 2, the casual looter shooter with PvP. If you got outplayed, you just got outplayed. It is what it is. MNK has a trillion bullet magnetism, better stability, range, movement option, and controller just has better stickiness and reticle friction.
Agreed.
It is what it is. Like,
I think they both have their strengths and their weaknesses, and the idea that it needs to be a one versus the other is such an old argument to me. It's so old. It's so played out. Everyone screams about which input is better for them. If the input is better, use it. If you don't use it, then don't complain about it. That's the way I see it.
If you want to have MK type movement, there's always controllers you can invest in. I have a Scuff Instinct. I got paddles. I have adjusted high joysticks. Like, I move a lot faster. Some people think I zim occasionally just because occasionally my movement looks fast enough to be like low sense MK. If you want to play controller, there's options, to still have that MK movement. Even Bungie, increased the sensitivity for controllers as well. Like back in season 15 from 10 to 20.
I remember that update.
Adding ADS because you were set at 1. There's not a thing you could change for controller. And they gave those options as well. Like, also being able to change your turn speed. Like, it really is just pointless argument for Destiny. Use what you want, whatever you feel comfortable with. I have clanmates that play both great and just prefers controller.
Yeah, I agree.
It is.
And that's one of those things, I just am over that whole argument.
Both MMs are easy to learn. Like, I don't, just don't be that Kovacs Andy. It's
right.
Destiny 2. Like, the game has aimbot for you.
That's
and
actually
wallhack.
that's a really good question to close out the conversation with. While everybody's here ready, warming up for the scrim portion, how do you both get better at aiming and understanding movement in Destiny? Because
I
you're
think
two
at least you
different
should answer
inputs.
this
It's
because
more
I
of
have
just
seen this dude
like
progress.
you can go first, Fantuv.
No, I think you should. 'Cause I've seen you just.
I mean, it's more of just like predicting movement. Um, I want to do better at like predicting people's movement so I can, get my, fight ready. The maps that we play are pretty repetitive, so there's ways to, predict, a slide, predict the peaks and all that. But again, like in a meta where like it's really easy to get up in front and just, instant TTK, there's not really much of like prepping. Like most people nowadays don't prep for the fights. They just go in. And so like I feel like if I want to improve on this game and I want to see improvement in people, I feel like they just need to like try to slow down for a minute and just to see like if there's any like lanes they can take or prep to take because I don't know. I want to get better at this game. I really do. But like another part of me says that like there's no actual improvement in this game. And the reason I say that is because that there are so many weapons, abilities, and supers and stuff like that. I just don't know how you can naturally improve at a game that has so many ways to help you like get kills.
Right.
So I don't know. I think like in terms of like gunplay performance, I would say just like learn on how to predict lanes better and learn how to disengage from fights.
That's a huge one.
Yeah.
That is
I have
a huge one.
Yeah, I definitely.
Learn when you
Lane's a
need to
different take.
disengage.
You hold forward and you die. That's how it works. That's Destiny in a nutshell. Or at least that's how all my blueberries treat it.
Yeah, I think there's one piece of the conversation though, like to answer that, like there are two parts. It is game sense, which is exactly what Elite, like that's what Elite said, but there's also the mental part. Like there's just sometimes just depending like and I mean by mental, like there's some things that are just always gonna prevent you from being able to improve. There's just gonna be a place that you plateau. For me, I have ADHD, like something like there's just a certain place I'm just never gonna reach. It's just not gonna happen. And I think that's the one part of the conversation that people always forget. Like, you can give so many tips and tricks, you can learn game sense, but sometimes, depending on the person you're just not gonna be able to retain that knowledge.
Absolutely.
It's just not gonna happen.
And see,
you
on
kinda
my
have
part,
to accept that. Like, I have a bad, just because of my ADHD, I have good aim. I just have a bad time staying alive. I just cannot. I have a hard time not moving. It's very difficult. I have a hard time, playing against those that sit in the very far back of the map. I usually perform pretty bad on Eternity because of that. It's one of those things.
yeah, see, I mean, my problem is I have the game sense. I have the understanding of centering on reticle. I'm inconsistent. I'm so inconsistent. If I'm on, fuck, I'm on. But if I'm off, I might as well just be playing with the monitor off the whole time. So it affects everybody, right? We're all here trying to get better, as well as we're not just running in and running over and running out. And I want that to be a lesson to the viewers in chat to stick with it. You'll have your bad days. You'll have your good days. Watch your bad days
off
back.
days.
Yeah. Watch your bad days back and see what you did wrong.
Exactly.
And change that for the next one. I am a huge proponent of recording your gameplay, not your good plays, your bad plays. Watch them back and go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have pushed that lane, or oh, maybe I should have realized that there were 3 on the
Again,
radar.
that's where I always, just for me personally, reminding that mental part, you can always do that, but just remember, you're not gonna be the panda. There's only so many people that can be the panda. The wall of, I guess, trials to fizzle. Like, there's only so much you can do and improve.
Well, I mean, even they have bad days, and they usually take time to
I
review
know when I have my bad days, I just know the aim's off, and it's just gonna be that day. I'm gonna make pretty poor decisions. It's one of the things you kind of have to reflect on and take as much information that you can, and try to apply as much as you can. You're not gonna be able to always apply everything. Some things you're just never gonna grasp, and so that's the one thing I would try to accept. There's probably always gonna be one thing, unless you're like the panda, that you're just gonna not quite be proficient at. Something that you're just not gonna be able to learn.
Absolutely. All right, so chat, we are rolling into the scrim portion. We already have 3 in the waiting room. If you'd like to join, the rules are simple. They are at the top of the Discord under the ScrimCast rules. They're pretty light. They're actually really light compared to some of the other ones if you've played in
Yeah, I
Face
was
It or
reading through.
otherwise. The big thing is hop in the Scrim waiting room. Mods, can I get you to monitor who's in and who came in? I know who our first 3 are. After that, as people flow in, I want to make sure that people get a fair shot. So let's switch to be right back. Let's get into the game and let's get it popping.